Hello, welcome to the Weekly Listens podcast. I'm Dylan,
What up? And I'm Jimmy.
and we do a series on Instagram. We call it the Weekly Listens, where we review a couple albums every week, and we wanted to do a kind of quarterly recap of the music we've listened to this year. So to start, we're going to talk about how the original Weekly Listens started and how we got to today. So originally, Weekly Listens was just me. I started back in 2024. So I had originally made it a goal to listen to an album a week, and then I upped it to two. And then at a certain point, I decided I should try putting these reviews out and doing more formal reviews and putting them on Instagram to kind of hold myself accountable and get better at articulating my opinions on music. And that's kind of how it worked until the end of the year when Mr. Jimbo got involved.
Yeah. And I basically just got involved because I've really enjoyed what Dylan was doing in a lot of just reviewing music, and I was also getting out of a personal situation, and I needed an outlet of some kind, and I thought it was a great way to explore something that I love, which is music. I sadly am not that good at playing it, but I'm a damn good listener, I'll say that. And and I thought it was also another opportunity to grow my music taste, because I feel like a lot of the time I kind of get stuck in what I listen to. And I say this with a like songs playlist of 8,000 songs, but I still like to explore a lot. And I feel like that's an example of it.
Yeah, yeah. And now we're here.
And now we're still listening.
Yeah. So the first kind of question I wanted to ask you was kind of how you listen to these albums, and I guess kind of how you rate the albums, just to give our listeners an idea of how we review.
Yeah. So how I usually listen to it is, of course, like two main ways. Is I sit down and either put in AirPods or use my speaker, and I do like nothing else. I just sit there and make sure I'm like focusing on the music, and if I am not really focusing that much, I just stare at the lyrics, so it forces me to really digest everything in the song and in the album. And I would say that's kind of it. The way I've rated stuff has changed, but I'll get into that later.
Yeah, I think we have very similar ways to listen to albums, because I have to sit down and kind of just do nothing else. Like, I really want to make sure that I'm really sitting with the music without distractions, because I feel like I would not be able to give an accurate rating if I was just like walking around campus or anything. So I also kind of sit down, and if I really can't focus, I do pull up the lyrics as well. And yeah, my scale originally in 2024, I would kind of just listen to an album and kind of at the end just give myself a general rating out of 10 based on my vibes. But once we started, I kind of started rating each song on a scale of 1 to 10. And then at the end, I would just average out my rating of all the songs. And generally, that's how I get my final score. Depending on certain issues or certain strengths, I may artificially add or subtract a few points, but that's pretty much how it goes. And like my number scale, as you can probably tell from most of my ratings, I'm a relatively positive rater. So like anything below a 5, like obviously I don't really enjoy it. I would say around 3 is where I'm like, there's some parts of the song I like it may be a instrumental that I like, but nothing about the lyrics. Sonic Youth.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5. I mean, it's 5 out of 10. It's just like can't really define my opinion on it. 6 is probably like, it's a good song, but it's just nothing special. Seven's kind of similar, where it's just like it is just like a good song, but I'm not like my mind isn't blown. And then 8, 9, and 10, that's like really good songs. Going up to 10 is like life changing, pretty much no flaws. Um, so yeah, how about you?
Yeah, so the way that I started out, because with Dylan kind of setting up a like a baseline of more proper rating and being a little bit more formal than how I usually am, I guess, to talk about music. I was like, I think it's a good idea to start off like a song at a time and rate that, and then do what he does, where you just average it out at the end, sometimes artificially. But also, my skill changed, and the day it changed was the first Sonic Youth album. I I listened to that, and then I will say it was based off of Dylan's rating, so there's a bit of bias there. But I was like, that was an eye-opening experience. I was like, yeah, never mind. I rated that way too positively, because I feel like early on, especially in January, I feel like I kind of bumped ratings up a little bit, but now I feel like I'm in a good line of I'm rating stuff how I feel like it should be, and no numbers are really inflated. But with that, I've noticed it is a lot harder to get me to like the nines. And
Yeah, I started to notice that.
yeah, like it's a lot harder for me to even. And then now it's a miracle to get me to a 9.5. But Earth, Wind, and Fire and Marvin Gaye have brought me there. Because the last time I think I got a 9.5 was Led Zeppelin 1 or 4. And I gave, what was it, Battle of Evermore and Stairway to Heaven, both 9.5s. That is, I think, the first and last time I'm ever giving an album 2 9.5s.
That was like those were my two favorite songs. But yeah, speaking of Luther and Earth, Wind, and Fire, we're gonna get into our top 5 albums we've listened to so far this year. And to give a context, as of the time we're recording this, we just finished up What's Going On and Let's Get It On by Marvin Gaye. So my top 5, I guess I'll start with 5, which is What's Going On by Marvin Gaye. It's just a timeless album, really. Like everything holds up today, but you still get that nostalgic feel. And like, as I mentioned in my review, like I feel like the lyrics are just as relevant today as they were when they were written. And then I guess to simple up the middle, my spots 2 through 4 are any of the Earth, Wind, and Fire albums we reviewed in any order. You can take your pick, and I would be fine with that.
Yeah.
That was a great streak of 2 weeks for us.
It really was. It was blissful, to be honest.
Absolutely. And just incredible instrumentation, storytelling all around. And then my number 1, Never Too Much by Luther Vandross. I know I've rated a couple albums a little higher or on the same scale, but that is like the one album that's really stuck with me. And I loved it from the first listen, and it's just like only got better. And yeah, just an absolute I thought I was going somewhere.
Yeah.
Apparently I wasn't. It's just a great album. How about you?
For mine, I'll just start off with number 1. It's What's Going On by Marvin Gaye. But I will say that is kind of cheating, because that has been one of my favorite albums and one of my top rated albums of all time before I even did this. But I think this is like the only album that I've actually heard before this.
I actually didn't know you'd heard it before. I'm just learning this now. But
Oh, actually?
yeah,
Oh, whoops.
it's no worries.
Yeah, but if we take away the bias, it's still, I think, my top rated album. But
Absolutely.
yeah, like, oh my God, yeah, what you said, it's just perfect for nowadays, but it's even better for like back then. And just, oh my God, can't say enough good things about it. And then Never Too Much by Luther Vandross is probably my 2. And that album has also slowly been growing on me as like, I'm doing whatever activity through the day and it pops on through my playlist. And I'll be like, oh, I remember this, and I'll keep listening to it. And then after that, it's kind of like it's kind of a dogfight for 3 through 5. A lot of it's Earth, Wind, and Fire as well. But to be honest, I don't know where to put it, but I do want to put Balloonerism in there. I absolutely love that album to death, and I just love Mac to death, and I was so glad to hear it when it finally came out officially.
Absolutely.
And again, like I could put In Through the Outdoor in there from Zeppelin. Just so many. I would probably say, if I can make an actual list, is What's Going On, Never Too Much, Let's Get It On, In Through the Outdoor, and then Balloonerism. I'll probably say that'll be mine.
That's a good top 5. And now we're gonna get a little more specific and do our top 3 albums of 2025 so far. Do you want to take this first?
Yeah, I'll go first. I think technically counts because it was released in 2025, but Balloonerism is my favorite that is like actually released this year. After that, Hurry Up Tomorrow. I wasn't like the biggest fan throughout the whole album, but the songs that I really enjoyed and that are like constantly being played, like Cry For Me, Sao Paulo, and Timeless, are all like absolute favorites of mine from that. And then I guess the JPEG Deluxe. JPEG's Deluxe.
Yeah.
I'd say that's my third. What about you, Dylan?
Mine's very similar. I'm going to go third first, which is the JPEG Mafia Deluxe to I Lay Down My Life For You. The original was probably my favorite album of 2024. If not, it's either 2 or 3. I just love the creative production he does. And it's whenever you listen to a JPEG Mafia project, you just know you're going to laugh. And yeah. Next is Balloonerism. I didn't really know much about like the history behind the album going into it, but learning more about it, I mean, it's very good on its own, but just learning more about the album and all the context just like makes it even better in my eyes. And losing Mac is just one of the biggest tragedies that we've had in music for a while.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, yeah. My number 1 album of 2025 so far is Hurry Up Tomorrow by The Weeknd, which I am a little surprised by, honestly, but it is a great album. I mean, what a voice that Abel has.
What a voice.
But yeah, like similar to Jimmy, like there's some duds. It is kind of a long album, but it's a really great story. One thing he's always been good at that I feel like isn't appreciated as much, because like he has his hits, he is a pop star, but like the stories that he puts in his albums are they're very good. And
yeah, I'm honestly surprised that he doesn't kind of get, I know they're different genres, but like I feel like him and Tyler do a lot of like character work in their albums.
yeah.
And I'm kind of amazed that that's not brought up enough or as much as like Tyler's is, because I feel like that's become like his identity in a way. You're like, oh, what is he going to do next on the next album?
Yeah, I mean, he's made like multiple trilogies of characters, and it's really impressive that such a massive artist can create these interesting stories and then also back it up with amazing production that's like kind of spawned a new wave in pop music with like this 80s throwback, or like I mentioned, like amazing vocals, and like even songs that I wasn't a huge fan of, like Sao Paulo. Like going into this, I wasn't a huge fan of it. I think most of that comes from the music video because I watched that and I was kind of scarred. But I was also just like, how is like a Brazilian funk song going to fit into a Weeknd album? But it somehow works in like the whole context. And like you said, Cry For Me, amazing song. I'm a huge fan of Enjoy the Show, where we get the one wholesome future verse of this decade. And there's like too many to list, but great way to send off the character of The Weeknd. And I'm very interested to see what he does next and like where he goes from this.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're going to do our worst albums this year, which we can also call the Sonic Youth Hate Corner.
Yeah, and if I like really, if people don't want me to rag on him too much, I think I'll put like a Teddy Swims album in there. I think part two.
Yeah, I think that, yeah, I was kind of let down because, like, at the beginning of the year when we were planning out music we wanted to listen to, I brought up Teddy Swims because I'd heard Lose Control, obviously. I've heard The Door, and his voice is, like, so unique, and I really like his voice.
Oh yeah, it's gorgeous. I love his voice.
And then we decided to listen to some albums, and I think the first sign, especially for part two, that we might have been in a little trouble was when he was like doing a song with, I think it was Glorilla and Coco Jones.
Yes.
And we're like, what are they gonna do on a Teddy Swims song? But I think my main issue with Teddy Swims is his voice is definitely not an issue. It's just I feel like a lot of the lyrics and the production kind of falls flat or feels very one-dimensional. I think I heard someone describe it as like Gen X music, which
Yeah,
I kind of have to, it kind of sums it up well.
yeah, it does. Like, yeah, that was also my biggest problem. I feel like the songs that I did truly enjoy from that album, I think I enjoy them more because the instrumentals just kind of went away or became less of a factor and his voice really got to shine. And I kind of feel that as like Marvin Gaye did it in a much better way, but it's like the same equivalent. Marvin Gaye doesn't put like too much like I guess complicated instrumentals in there. It's like simple like drum beats, some brass, and the one instrument I can't think of that you like makes like a clapping noise.
Oh,
I don't know what it is, but I played it back in like third grade. And but I feel like that's where he really shines. Like if he becomes more of a vocalist that doesn't focus on pop instrumentals that sound very basic. But
or like the stomp clap.
yes. Like if he kind of focuses more on I don't even know, like maybe acoustic guitar and very simple like playing in a way like John Mayer, but at the same time, he has such like a powerful voice that's like amazing to listen to that I feel like that almost dumbs him down more.
Yeah. I feel like going back to The Weeknd, I feel like Teddy Swims is someone that could benefit from like a story album. I think that could be very interesting. I mean, if he's finding success in the Gen X
The
age
Gen X
group
sound.
that maybe doesn't want a story, that's fine. But I feel like his voice could also be very interesting. Like I feel like, well, he does a lot of love songs. I feel like if he found like a character and like his stuff through that and like a more minimalist soundscape, I think that could be very interesting to
Yeah.
see.
Absolutely.
So do we want to move on to our star of the show, Sonic
Yeah.
Youth?
Yeah, let me start this.
Yeah, I think you have an apology to make, right?
I have a big apology to make to myself. This is an apology to myself. The way I rated Sister is a crime. It's a crime for how I rated that. A 6.7, that should at least be a 4.5.
At most?
At most. I hated that album. I have no idea what I was smoking. But it must have been really good because I somehow gave this more than a 5.
Yeah. That was an experience. Because I think when we were planning it out, you brought up Sonic Youth because you'd listened to a couple songs and liked them, right?
Yeah, there's a good handful. Yeah, I'm the guy who brought it up, and I'm the guy who enjoyed a couple of songs, and I was like, oh, nice, I got to dive deep into this. Found out
Sorry, guys.
it's a horror film. It's a horror film.
It's a trap.
It sucks.
No, yeah. So I didn't know about Sonic Youth. I looked it up and it was like, oh, alt rock. Like I hadn't listened to a lot of rock, but I mean, one of the main reasons that I wanted to do this was to force myself to like look at some new genres and see what else. So I'm like, let's try it out. But given our ways of listening to albums of no distractions, God, that was
Hell.
I was exhausted after every album experience. Thankfully, they got a little better after
Yeah.
that, but not much. I mean, the next few albums we listened to, I don't even remember the name. I think Washing Machine. That had songs that I legitimately like. But
Yeah.
I guess it was good for us to know that we can rate albums negatively, though.
It was a nice eye opener, and it also like this was the week. It was the main Sonic Youth week and the week before with Sister that like made me dive deep into how I actually rated songs on a certain scale. And my usual thing was 7.5 was like the barrier between going on my like songs and not, from how much
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. And now that's shifted to 8.0, and it's gotten a lot harder to even hit 8 now.
He's gained a higher taste. You
Nah,
need more to impress me now.
I think it showed me that I was rating stuff way too positively. And it kind of like made me think about what I was actually like listening to a lot more.
Yeah.
Because I genuinely think, looking at part 2 for Freddie Gibbs, what am I talking about? Teddy Swims. Oh my God.
We need that collab album.
Yeah, maybe. But when I listened to the Teddy Swims album, I bet if I didn't have that eureka moment, or I guess the oh God moment, that would have been a lot higher, and that would have been not good. At least for me.
Yeah, I think I've gotten better, but I used to take almost like an empathetic look at the album when I'm being like, but just think about how hard they tried. And like,
Yeah.
and it's like, if I look at it from their perspective, I'm like, I can see how this works. But I think I kind of needed to tell myself, not everybody's going to like this, and this is how I like the song. And
Yeah.
it's not like the artist is watching me review it and I need to be nice to them or anything.
Yeah. I also found out that I could rate things lower than a 5.
Yeah, me
And that
too.
led to me rating a couple to like a 1 and a 2. And I haven't that hasn't happened since. This is the only band / artist that has forced me to go to a 2 or a 1.
I love forced. It's like,
Yeah.
even so, in some cases, I still feel like I'll rate it lower, but I'll feel a little bad. Like giving Couch a 6.0, it just made me feel a little bad. It's like, it's not really for me,
Yeah.
but they're such a wholesome little group that it like it made me feel bad with where Sonic Youth, I'm like, you know what? Screw you guys.
Yeah. Nah.
How could you do this to me?
It made it even worse because they decided to just keep adding songs. Like Dirty legitimately was torture to get through. It
There was some bad song.
it was so bad. I gave out of like 15 songs almost, I gave 1 an 8, and I barely enjoyed that one. That barely crossed the 8.0 line for me.
Yeah, I think those were the first albums. I think Sister might have been the first album in a while that I didn't have a single song added to my liked songs. I might be wrong, but I know for a fact that there are very little.
Yeah, just no bueno.
See. Before we wrap up, I was going to ask if there was anything new you've kind of discovered about the way you listen to music from doing the weekly listens. I feel like we've kind of got into it with like the rating stuff, but
Yeah, I mean, like, to go deeper is that I really stuck around. I think my lowest rating for the longest time was like a 6, and I never went really below that unless it was just like, obviously just like, what am I listening to? This sucks. Like, I feel like I can go back to Zeppelin and get a lot more, I guess variety in my ratings instead of them being
Yeah.
so close together. But I think what I've kind of learned is just like making sure I'm more open with what I actually enjoy in listening.
Yeah.
Like, I've made that because now I felt like I was flooding my playlists and like adding way too many songs that I didn't truly enjoy. Now it's like I'm picking up only gold and diamonds for what I like and
Yeah.
not just anything I find on the ground.
Yeah. That's a beautiful way of putting that.
It's the only way I can think of it.
Bro thinks in beautiful
money.
thoughts, I guess.
And beautiful thoughts, yeah.
You see, I can't speak like that, which is why I have the worst analogies known to man. I don't think that was even the right word. Is it metaphors?
I don't even analogies, metaphors.
Well, this is why I
I don't know.
This is why I do performing arts and not English.
This is why I'm a phys ed major. Who knows?
Yeah. It's kind of interesting how you've like liked less songs. For me, I think it's because I'm listening to so much more music that I am just getting so many more songs than my liked songs. But I think my barrier of quality has remained about the same because my main playlist I listen to is my liked songs playlist. And I feel like sometimes I will like songs that are maybe around the 6.5 range just because it's like I do want to listen to this again, I guess. But yeah, another thing that I've learned, I was talking to you about this a little earlier. I think I've had a revelation with like my favorite genres and like a kind of discrepancy between them. So my favorite genre, especially going into this, was hip hop rap, but especially after Earth, Wind and Fire, Luther Vandross, Marvin Gaye, I'm starting to realize I think in terms of quality, R&B, especially like 70s, 80s R&B, is my favorite genre.
Absolutely. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but
No, you're all right.
I didn't realize I was going to be such an R&B fan. But what I've kind of realized is that, and I think Dylan's going to get into this after I'm done talking, is that like they don't stick out as much though. I really enjoy what I'm listening to. Like the quality is so there, the vocals are there, like everything that you need is perfect. It's just, I think when we were listening to it, we were kind of talking about how even though we're enjoying how it sounds, it kind of gets old the more you listen to it and the deeper you go into the album. It doesn't take away its quality, but I've also realized it's kind of the equivalent to like this 70s, 80s R&B to what I usually listen to on repeat, which is like rap, is the equivalent to my other favorite genre, which is metal. And like specifically more of like the intense like death metal stuff with those vocals. Like that's one of my favorite genres. I just can't listen to it all the time. But I can listen to rock all the time. I think it's like this, I got something like that there again.
Yeah. I was kind of thinking about it more. So, yeah, I feel like R&B and that time specifically is like might be my favorite genre in terms of quality, but I think that hip hop rap I remember more almost, and I feel like I would pick up more cuz I feel like every R&B album this I feel like it's almost like its own world. And like when you're listening to that album, you're like in that world, and then once you like stop listening to it, you kind of like almost forget everything that was into it. I feel like there's so little Earth, Wind and Fire songs like I could tell you the song title of or like how something goes, but as soon as I like would put it on, I would be like, "Oh yeah, like I'm remembering like all of this." And yeah, like you were saying, like sometimes they can go on a little longer than I would totally like, but that could also be our like Zoomer 3-second attention
brains.
span.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I could see the not being able to remember much as a bit of a weakness, but thinking of it as like its own world that you kind of have to immerse yourself in, I see it as a strength. No.
Yeah, no, because I also remember when we were like texting each other about what we were kind of thinking about the Earth, Wind, and Fire albums, I remember just being like, I wasn't having like a crappy day. I was just in like a weird, like, I'm not really enjoying anything today. And then I put the
Average
album on.
college experience.
Yeah. And then I put the album on. I'm like, yo, I need to do something right now. I'm like, I gotta like
dance.
move around. No, honestly, listen to Happy Feeling. I put that on in like the shower now. That's like the one song I really grabbed to.
I love that song.
Oh, it's so good.
I'm pretty sure when that song came on, when I was listening to it for the review, I literally got up and just started like grooving.
Oh yeah, no, I might have taken a couple of edibles before listening to some of these, and let's just say I had a blast through each one of the Earth, Wind, and Fire albums.
Let's go.
Oh my god, dancing my little heart out.
That's fire. All right, I think that's all that I had going into this. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about?
I don't know, not really. Like, the only other thing I could think of is like what we would want to listen to more of, like down the stretch.
Yeah, I could pull up the what we may have in the future of weekly listens. All right, so we do have some more kind of R&B, some oldies. We have Ella Fitzgerald, Frank Sinatra on the list. Stevie Wonder, that'll be fun.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
sure those will start to get up there.
absolutely.
Silk, that's a little 90s R&B group that I've heard one song from them and I've been obsessed ever since. So that'll be interesting.
I still have no clue who they are, and I will only find out when we listen to them.
Hopefully this is not another Sonic Youth incident.
If it is, I think it's only even. I can't even be mad. It's like one of us had to have one of these.
Our next episode is like, guys, we did it again. I'm kind of going by genre right now.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a lot of 90s rap. A lot.
Yeah.
90s, 2000s, like Jay Dilla, The Roots, Mos Def, Mobb Deep, Biggie, Tupac, Tribe Called Quest, Wu-Tang, Nas. Wow, we have so many. MF Doom, Outkast.
And so many of those are from me. Because I think when we were curating our list of like just putting ideas on.
I think we put all of those at once. We're just like, we need to just do like a lot of 90s rap.
It's because this is going to go into something. If we listen to Nas, we would have to avoid like 2 albums, like his 2 first albums, because too much bias. I would give them like 10s.
Yeah, and I have listened to it before, but unless we have another What's Going On. No.
No. New York State of Mind would be a 10. I can't even lie. It's 5 minutes of a 17-year-old just rapping. It's
every
beautiful.
time I think about that he was 17 when he made Illmatic, just makes it kind of ruins my day. Because I'm like, what am I doing? I'm 20.
No, it like brightens my day. I'm like, thank God someone made this so young. It's like finding out when like there's like a rocket scientist who's like 15 at NASA. You're like, that's crazy.
Yeah. But then it's like, Nas was 17 when he made Illmatic, and it's like, oh, missed that boat. I should just give up. No.
Yeah. Then it's us at like 20. Like, I'm just eating my dining hall's chicken tenders right now.
No, think about Nas's second prime when he turned 50. No.
Guys, don't worry. It's just
3 albums in a year.
Yeah, let's go. He's trying to be West Side Gun. Soul crack to a pine tree. Shouts out Hive Mind.
Shout out Hive Mind. I barbecue in a swimming pool. But yeah. Oh, another R&B. This is like a modern R&B. The Sacred Souls. I think that's how it's pronounced. They have that song, Can I Call You Rose? Like, can I call you Rose? Like that one. So that'll be exciting. And I am going to be honest. There's a lot of other artists. I don't really know their genres. We got that recommended from some of my followers. I'll just like rattle those off. Obviously, I know Hozier. We are going to do Billie Eilish. Bon Iver, Dave. I just saw J. Cole. I forgot about J. Cole.
Oh my, wow.
I forgot we had that. Maybe the Fallout will be off. It'll be released by the time.
I really hope so. Been craving
Lake
it.
Street Dive. Yeah. Did you see I think he like took a picture with a fan with a sweatshirt that said, "I am retired."
No.
It's
Now,
over.
I'm just waiting for Baby Keem to drop. Waiting for J. Cole to drop.
Can Baby Keem please come back?
Yeah,
Can Kendrick bring him back? If Kendrick can feature on 3 Cardi songs on an album we thought was never gonna drop, Baby Keem, you can come back in 2025.
oh my god. I haven't even listened to it yet, but I would like to shout out my buddy Kingsley because he has listened to it, and I was in Alabama this past week during spring break. So when Cardi dropped, I didn't get this message until like late at night when I finally got some service. He sent me paragraphs, and he just goes, "This is the worst album I've ever listened to. What the hell?" And he's like, "The only listenable song is Kendrick. Change my mind. Jimmy, please tell me I'm wrong." Just like, and I was just like, I'm not informed. I'm not informed at all. And I gotta be honest, I love listening to albums, but there is no way in hell in one sitting I'm listening to 30 songs.
Yeah, what?
That is insane. That's like Mac DeMarco. That's on the verges of Mac DeMarco, what he did back in like 2020 or something.
No, you leaked our next
200
week's
songs.
You leaked our next week's listen.
Dude, no, stop. I don't want to 8 hours of Mac DeMarco. I think I would give myself depression.
There's like the comments like, "This is the worst experience I've ever had." 6.3 out of 10. No.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just to wrap up our other artists: Lake Street Dive, Quadeca, Remy Wolf, Sammy Ray, Stray Kids, the Army of the Navy, the Crane Wives, and Soundgarden.
Ooh.
So we've got a pretty good range. I think it is very hip hop,
Heavy.
R&B centric. But you know what?
I
So
feel.
am I.
Yeah, like we are, but I now thinking about that, or now like listening to how many we actually have, I feel like
we got our work cut out.
We might have to like sacrifice a couple to add new genres.
Yeah, and then we can always put these or put more in 2026.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna put this out here. I feel like if we actually had the time, we should listen to Tool. Because
I would be down.
That's the one thing though, is that I'm a big fan where
Yeah.
I think like 1 week, some point, I would love if we just did a switch. Like in terms of like, hey Dylan, you listen to these 2 albums, and then it's like, hey Jimmy, you listen to these 2 albums.
Oh,
It's
we like trade off
completely-
albums.
Yeah, like because there's some albums where I'm like, I really want to know what your opinion is, but I already know mine's high. Like I already have mine in stone.
Yeah, get ready for the Jimmy and Dylan fight about Tool episode. No.
Yeah, no. What do you mean the 13-minute song sucks? What do you mean?
She is very gorgeous to me.
Exactly.
But yeah, kind of going off of that, we don't really know when we're going to record these episodes. We are both college students. We are very busy people.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm almost thinking like kind of what we're doing now, like a quarterly review, just to like give updates on what we've been listening to, our opinions.
Yeah.
Maybe if we like listen to an album that's like absolutely changed our lives, or like we absolutely hate and we like need to talk about it, maybe we can do like a little impromptu episode.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's
Thank
it.
you for listening. Yeah, that's it. Thank you for listening. Follow us on Instagram. I'll link it in the description. And
Have a blessed day.
have a blessed day. We will see you next time.
Toodaloo.
Bye.
Dude, I'm going to keep this recording on so you get to hear the end of it.